1:30, and we will call the Cumberland County Finance meeting to order. And seeing as this is September 11th, I thought it would be appropriate if we started this meeting off with a moment of silence and reflection over the lives that were lost this day. Thank you all. We will begin then now with the roll call, please, Audrey.
Commissioner Nurick.
Here.
Commissioner Felch.
I'm here.
Commissioner Eichelberger.
Next up on the agenda is public comment. While we have some folks in the room, I don't know if anyone here is here to make public comment. Audrey, are we showing anyone online? If you are online and would like to make a public comment, please use the raise your hand feature.
Not at this time.
Not at this time. All right. We'll roll right into the approval of the meeting minutes from September 4th.
I'll move to approve.
It's moved.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next up, what we have all been waiting for with bated breath, that we have a discussion and possible approval to place the Cumberland County Comprehensive Plan on view. And with us, we have a number of folks from the Planning Commission, and we have Kirk Stoner, who is going to walk us through.
Sure. Okay. Thanks, Kelly. Yeah, just by way of introduction, we have Ed Franco with us today. And we also, George Tyson is with us as well. So they're both second-term Planning Commission members. So our Planning Commission, way back in the day, instituted term limits, so 2 4-year terms for each member. Ed and George have been with us for over a term, so they've been with us a long time. Both of them are excellent. I think having them here today just shows their commitment to working with the staff, working on projects such as this, and they've done a great job with us. So a lot of what you'll see today, the guidance, the form that the plan has taken, has really been crafted by the Planning Commission. So I know you appoint volunteer boards. We appreciate all the hard work that they do for us, and I think their hard work really achieve the results like we're going to see today.
Perfect. And serving as the liaison to that board, I can certainly attest to the great conversation and thoughtful, remarks that are made by both gentlemen. So we appreciate you being here. Thank you.
So actually, I think every board member has been a liaison to the Planning Commission at one time.
We fight for it.
I know. We actually, at our last retreat, we had a question for our Planning Commission members: who was the best liaison?
Oh man.
We were not going to share the results.
Well, for some of us, that goes predates of us. Skewed date.
Okay, so we have our county comprehensive plan update. The update goals that were set by the Planning Commission in conjunction with staff. Our existing plan, our November 2017 plan, I think achieved its purpose. As we step back and took a look at it, what we wanted to achieve, we knew that it needed to be shorter, simpler language. We wanted to be visual, so that we're not talking about what you should do, but also showing what you should be doing. Professionally done, so that it's a document we're proud of. To the extent we can, have it be online and interactive, so that people can sort through it and see what they want and get out of it. And then also implementation focus. So we really want to make sure anything that's in here now is something that we intend to do. So I think in the past plan, we had a lot of aspirational type goals and objectives in here, which are fine. But with the new plan, we wanted to keep it to things that we believe that we can do. So
Is that the only difference you'd say? I mean, this thing's much shorter, more concise, still that we're done in the last revision. So is the last bullet point, is that the key difference between?
Yeah, I think, Gary, these goals really are differences between the two. I think the change summary, I'll get to your question.
Sure.
What are the main differences? So when you look at the 2017 plan, we had 3 themes: serve, grow, and connect. 181 policies, goals, objectives, and strategies. That's a lot. The way we reorganized the new plan, it's organized around 8 planning principles that we're calling the Cumberland principles. We had 113 actions in the old plan, 41 actions in the new plan. So Gary, getting back to your question, being implementation focused, we're confident those 41 actions, given the staff and resources that we have, we can take action on those.
So the 113 of the previous plan was too much. That stuff was not done.
Yeah, so there were achievements that were made, but there were also a lot that were so general that really there wasn't an implementation assignment made to us or another organization.
Okay.
So there's too much. It was aspirational. I think we're gonna save the world with this thing, and that's not what the new plan is intended to do.
Now you're really going to do it one little action at a
Right.
time, right?
41 actions.
41.
With our future land use map too, we've narrowed that down from 10 categories to 5. We'll talk about that later. And also the final piece here, background data. We've tried to narrow that. We had the old plan, we had these background profiles, 222 pages of it. What we found in working with our communities that are doing comprehensive planning in our own professional experience too, is there's not a lot of interest of readers or anyone that's using the plan to dig through a lot of background data. We need to have the relevant data in the plan that really makes the case. So as you see with what we have now, we have our 8 planning principles, and we've integrated that data into each of the principles. So that what's relevant is shown there. And even some of the data, we were at the GHR meeting this morning on housing. Housing data changes so quickly. By the time it's in here, it's out of date. And there's a lot of good census resources out there too. If someone wants us to think profile what's going on in Cumberland County, it's readily available. So for us, we wanted to make sure that the data that's included in the plan is the relevant data and not exhaustive background data. So the purpose of the plan, keep in mind, we're the only level of government in the Commonwealth that's required to plan. So counties are the only entity of government that's required to create a comprehensive plan. And municipalities can choose to do so, but they're not required to do so.
Doesn't that seem counterintuitive, given that the legal responsibilities and rights lie with the municipality?
It does. But if municipalities,
State planning board, aren't you going to fix that?
well, we're trying.
Okay.
We're trying. So if you look at that, municipalities that do choose to plan, there's a requirement of the plan that municipal plans are generally consistent with the county plan. So I think there was intent there from the framers of the municipalities planning code in 1968, to try and have consistency at the various levels of government. But you're right, Carrie, when you look at who actually the legislative requirement to do zoning and subdivision regulations, that's the municipal level. But I think our plan sets a vision for what some of those regulations can achieve in the future. We want to have consistency between what they're doing at the county level. And that's part of the second bullet there, consistency determinations. We'll be working with our staff to develop a set of guidelines for consistency. So if someone's submitting a grant application, or if they're submitting a zoning amendment, they can look and say, are we consistent with the county plan? That consistency be largely framed around those eight principles. The update process we followed was really simple. Intelligence for decision-making, data collection, development of the principles was a direct response to that. The actions we can take, you looked at based upon what we've heard, what we're doing, what we could do, what are some of the priority actions we should do. And then the visualizing success piece was really showing what good planning looks like with visual examples from throughout the community, and also some enhancements that we made with our contractor. The intelligence for decision-making, again, getting rid of this robust data review, answering the so what, integrating the data into our plan versus having a separate background profile. Public survey was the heart of what we did. We had over 1,300 responses to that. We also had recent planning efforts. So we have our clean water action plan where we're out with our communities. We have our climate action plan where we had a survey that garnered over 1,000 responses to that, as well as our land partnerships plan. So we're getting a lot of responses back on similar issues that we integrated into our plan. Key person interviews, you met with private sector, non-governmental organizations, others to get their insight into what we're doing. But I think the final piece too is just that daily community engagement, that one of our core values for the planning department for our staff is that we need to be present in all 33 of our communities. If we're not present in those communities, we don't know what's going on, and we're not up to speed in the issues facing Cumberland County. So as we look at developing our plan, that intelligence for decision-making really relies upon our staff to be in those communities and knowing what's going on. It's really professional expertise. So I don't want to undersell that. I think sometimes when a plan is done, it's like, well, we just have to start from scratch because we don't know our community. I'm proud to say that I think our planning department, we know our community extremely well, and it shows through the planning process that we're working with our stakeholders. Our thoughts about the community, the issues we're identifying, are also validated by the folks we're meeting with. And then together, finding the solution, how we can work together to address them is the most important part of the plan. The principles we aspire to. So this is really trying to define what good planning looks like. As we were going through the process of how we wanted to set the plan up, this was something that stuck out to me, that with 33 municipalities, each one of them will have a slightly different vision for the future, or unfortunately, in some cases, no vision for the future. Somebody needs to define what good planning looks like and what good planning is. So we took a lot of experiences we were working with our municipalities through our grant programs, through our technical assistance programs, to identify what are the common issues that keep coming up. Put those together and we came up with the Cumberland principles, which are really defining what we believe smart growth is in Cumberland County. So in 29 words, we define smart growth in Cumberland County. We define what we believe is responsible land use planning. So you can see all 8 of those. We took these, have kind of a condensed version here, and then as you look at the plan, there's a more robust description of what exactly the principle is and why it's important. But I think these 8 really capture everything that we've seen to date. As part of the public review process, though, we want to make sure, is there anything we've missed? If there's stuff that we missed, we want to see, does it fit into one of these principles, or is there another principle that is necessary outside of the state? The actions we will take then, again, we talked about that earlier. Based upon the staff we have a smaller staff when you compare it to surrounding counties, especially larger counties like Lancaster County or York County. We have a staff that's fraction of the size, but getting equal or better results. So I'm thankful for the staff we have. I think they're all dedicated and passionate about what we do, and it shows when we look at the actions that are in the plan that we can take on a lot more than what we expected for a smaller staff.
Kirk, none of those responsibilities are still done by Tri-County Region, correct?
Correct, other than transportation. Yeah. So, but even, Gary, that's a good point too on transportation. It's one of our principles, right? So we want to expand transportation choices. We can't do that alone. We're working with Tri-County hats. And I think that relationship in particular has improved a lot over the past several years. You know, Steve Decker retired, Andrew Baumberger's a new director. Our relationship there is really good. And I think as we move ahead, Michelle has actually had some questions this morning from some of their staff and when they can see the plan. So we want to leverage those relationships as much as we can. So the actions we take, this is what it looks like in the plan. You know, we have the principle down the left side, we have the strategy or the action that's listed. In the plan, we define the county roles because this is important. There's some things that we can do on our own where we're a leader. For example, the Farmland Preservation Program. It's our program. We're putting our money into it. We make it happen. Others, we may have to be a convener. We're bringing folks together, other stakeholder organizations to achieve some of the goals and objectives of the plan. And for example, we have the concept of the Conservation Investment Program in Cumberland County, or the CIP. So it's looking at all the conservation lands that are out there. What are the priorities? How do we connect those? We can't do that on our own, but we can be a convener that brings municipalities and nonprofits together to make that goal achievable. And we also visualize success with the plan. So this really gets down to our future land use map. This is our past future land use map. It was based upon municipal comprehensive plans. So we had 10 categories of land use. It really got down to fine granular detail. It was taken largely from those municipal comprehensive plans. As we mentioned earlier, various states update, some that were very old to some that are very new. And what we found is that there's certain actions that municipalities planning code that need to be submitted to the County Planning Commission for review. So we make recommendations on those. And we also look at consistency with the county plan. And when you have a map like this, everyone was zooming into the parcel saying, what does the county recommend for this parcel? That's not what we did. This map. We didn't do independent validation of all the parcels. So we wanted to pull that back a little bit to get to a more generalized level, which we did with the new future land use map. So this is 5 categories of similar land use types that are found throughout the county. There's a combination of planning guidance that we give here. So if you click on the map, it'll come up. So this is the village character area. So think New Kingston, think Boiling Springs, village types of development. What's it look like? What's the growth potential? Housing, economic development, infrastructure will be present there. And what are some design characteristics that should be thought of so that we're implementing those Cumberland principles? So we're offering this as guidance back to our municipal partners, others that are working in the community, to say this is what we believe smart growth looks like. So we've coupled that then with visual renderings of what it really looks like in practice. So these pictures are actually from Cumberland County. We don't say where, because we didn't want anybody to get so hooked up on where it is that they lose the focus of it is what could be. So for instance, in this picture, you can see infill development on the left-hand side. It's a vacant lot now. You can see the bike lanes that are put there. There's a pedestrian crossing. Looks very different from if you were to go to New Kingston this afternoon and look at this is a different vision for the future. And it's not, we're not saying that New Kingston has done anything wrong. We're just saying of what a village could look like in the future if it adopts elements of the comprehensive plan. I will say, we have our GIS team here today. Everything that you've seen here with the map, the layout on the map, the interactive nature of the map, you can click over here and see the descriptions come up and you can see the renderings come up. That was done in-house. So these guys have done a great job for us. We had a contractor working on the project for us. They did a fine job too, but to start, we were working on some of these issues with our future land use map and GIS, and it became apparent to me that we needed in-house expertise to get this done right. So we moved it from our contractor to Justin and his team, and Justin and Mike and Darren have done a great job on this. So we have a lot of departments in the county that work together. I don't think we often talk about as much as we should about the power of doing that together and what we can get out of this. That sometimes we maybe undersell it and say we need consultants to help us out. But we don't. We have a lot of expertise here that we need to continue to leverage. So these guys have done a lot of work on this, and kudos to them for the final product that we have here.
So Kirk, one question on that, since you're talking about how our map is now more conceptual. So going back a few years, it's interesting you had New Kingston. So because we had that little episode where the township had an area right outside of that listed as, I guess, residential, and the county map, because it was a rail siding there, had it listed, otherwise, I guess, commercial, industrial of some type. So, so would the law consider that to be incompatible, and does this fix that?
Right.
And any other implications too?
Now, so, Gary, that's a really good example, because in that case Gary's referring to, we had a parcel in the county future land use map that during the draft phase was shown as industrial. And we filled the meeting rooms of the planning office several times on meetings on the comprehensive plan because of that parcel. The residents thought it shouldn't be industrial. How this map fixed that is it zooms out a little bit. So we're not on that parcel level saying this parcel should be industrial. In this case, that parcel is likely saying it's suburban. So there's suburban development there. What could you expect? You could expect a mix of residential, commercial, and industrial. But the important part is not so much what the land use is, but what the compatibility is with the surrounding properties. And that's where we get here. We get the compatibility of looking how we make things more compatible. We look at the Cumberland principles. How do we preserve sense of place to make sure that if a proposal like that comes forward, we're checking all the boxes and not just simply looking at what is the land use on the ground. So how will we use the plan? I mentioned this earlier. We're going to develop some consistency guidelines for the plan that will, as proposals come into the county. So we're required at the planning department to look at changes to municipal zoning ordinances, subdivision ordinances, changes to comprehensive plans, new comprehensive plans. We're required to provide comment and recommendations back to the municipalities on that. The plan will be the measuring stick for consistency for those. Also, we get a lot of requests for grants and consistency letters for different projects, municipalities, nonprofits are doing. So again, this would be a good tool. As they're working on that, they can cite specific principles, specific actions we're going to take to make it consistent with the county plan. So again, the municipal consistency, how do the two plans work together? And Gary, you had asked this question earlier, a little bit of how everything works together. Our county plan has 8 planning principles. Municipalities, as they do their local comprehensive plans, they'll consider those county-wide principles and bring those into their plans. We've already had one municipality, Mount Holly Springs Borough, that's working on their plan. They're likely going to take the 8 principles we have and put them into their plan. So that's the type of consistency we're looking for. That these principles are universal, that we want to see throughout the county. Each municipality may look at them slightly differently, but they're all going to be there. Our plan will look at major countywide actions, again, taken from 118 down to 41. Those municipal plans, then, they'll participate in some of those county actions, maybe make note of that in their plans, but they'll also have local actions. It'll supplement and be consistent with the county plan, but are a much more localized level that we don't include in ours. We have our interactive map with the 5 broad categories. At the municipal level, then, that's when we get this type of detail. That type of detail is better suited to a municipal plan than a county plan. They're responsible for land use on every single parcel and look at every single parcel. So let's let them do that and not try and have the county get too low and too specific for our future land use map. And the final piece is the relevant data for decision making. So we've seen this. We write a lot of plans for our municipalities. We have some grants for municipalities. I've yet to see a plan where we've used this relevant data, streamlined data. I've yet to see a request for the county plan or local plan where someone says, you know, we need more data. I haven't seen that yet. So I think this is a good example for us as we're doing our plan that can flow down to the municipalities so that they're looking at what's relevant, even more localized data than we have at the county level for their plans. So kind of summary or schedule, if the board wants to authorize public release of the plan today, there's a 45-day public review period. This is October 26th was when that period would end. We'd look at taking all the public comment we have, making any revisions that are necessary, with the hopes of bringing it back to the board for adoption at the end of this year. So our hope will be if we can get this thing sewed up and ready to go, then we can start using it in 2025.
Kirk, what's the process on the public review? What's the availability?
Sure, yeah. So the availability, it's going to be on the county's website, County Planning Commission website. We have a review form that someone's going to review the plan. We'd like them to use. It helps. I know it seems like government, more red tape here. We're going to give you another form to fill out, but it actually helps to streamline the review so that people are citing specific pages, specific errors or problems, and specific recommendations to fix it. We use that on our climate action plan work very well. So we're going to put it out online. If anyone needs a hard copy of the plan, they can contact the planning office. We're willing to print that out and send it to them. And if anybody wants to meet in person, and some of our stakeholder organizations have been really involved in development. If folks want to sit down and meet with the staff, then we're willing to do that as well. We're working with Samantha on press release to get the word out. We have our network of folks that will send out the plan to, as well as the email addresses for anyone that filled out our survey and said they wanted to be involved in the plan. We have those over 1,000 email addresses too that will send the final plan back out for their review and any comments they may have. So I'll leave it at that. I don't know, George, Ed, guys, planning commission members, if you have anything you wanted to add to what we talked about.
I just say it was a pretty comprehensive process, and I served on a subcommittee that was looking at open space and preservation with Stephanie Williams. It included both farmland preservation. And you all know this, but there's just many, many nonprofits out there that are very interested in preservation efforts. And I really liked the suggestion that Kirk came up with that conservation investment plan to really step back and not just look at what's in my backyard or what's in your backyard to conserve, but really try to look at that at the county level. What are the things that are of really value? And I thought there was excellent buy-in from that group to really try to comprehensively look at that. And I know you guys are up against great financial strains right now, but there is a groundswell, I think, on the private side in nonprofits. And personally, I've had very good experiences drawing state money down. I don't know, it's just because we're next to Harrisburg or because we are such a great county, but DCNR, Fish and Boat, my experience, state agencies are really looking forward to partnering on some of these projects. And the challenge, I think, that you can see is that small nonprofits and small municipalities do not have the bandwidth to go through that process. And so if there's an in-between place there, which Kirk has done and Stephanie certainly does all the time, to help municipalities or nonprofits jump through some of those hoops to draw the state money into the county, I really think there's opportunity there right now, especially in this kind of planning document gives credibility, I think, at the state level. And it also resolves some of the issues of, well, you did that for them, why don't you do it for me? Well, we have a set of priorities. And if it fits those priorities, that really makes some sense.
And in that vein, I've noticed, I guess from Stephanie's stuff, I was very farmland oriented, but we list the revenue sources that come through, and there was a lot of discussion about private donations and such. And I think the last document we saw showed something like $1,000 in private donations. That's pretty bad. Right. You've got a wealthy county, you got people with land, people with good retirements and everything, who say they're interested in being part of this preservation effort. Are we doing enough to try to find private dollars that are out there outside of the foundations and such? Or do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, I guess in my opinion, I would say no to that. I don't think that there's a vehicle, right, Central Pennsylvania Conservancy has been struggling. Not a big secret about that. I think they're doing better. I think they're drawing monies to their agendas, and as much as their agendas can, you're working with them on the scout camp, which is a perfect example of you all taking some leadership and doing something that no municipality was going to do and no nonprofit was going to do, but together, that's a big project, right? I think there could be opportunities like that. There is a very small line in the farmland preservation brochure that says that you can make a donation to farmland preservation. But I don't know if it's, I'm not a marketing person, I'm the world's worst, but somehow for it not to just be the county, but to be something much more personal, right? That, you make that donation to preserve farms in your township. Vince has been around to try to market the Silver Spring model, right? That's fallen on pretty deaf ears in the western part of the county. But
Well, some of that's because the county's always just filled the hole, so.
yeah,
And some other counties though are doing a really good work with establishing land trusts or preservation boards. And then that's more of an operational nonprofit that I think is as we need to consider as we look at our programs for preservation and not just ag, but open space, trails, parks, and greenways. Isn't that what you like to say, Kirk? Did I get them all?
Yeah, you got it.
Yes, so I think that there are options available to us, but as it, competing with Central Pennsylvania Conservancy is probably not the role, I don't think, of for us, but to do something in tandem and collaboratively is which I know happens.
yeah, I don't think you have to compete. I think there's lots of, and we've talked about this a lot, that, you have a person who has 50 acres of woodland and they want to give it to somebody to take care of in perpetuity. But how do you make that happen? And you've got to have almost a smorgasbord or a menu to say, well, this would fit there, it won't fit farmland because it's not ag, but could fit over here. How would we do that? But, and you guys, I think you've looked at the models in York County where they have more of an integrated farmland preservation with some of these other nonprofits. I don't know if that's something to even consider. I realize this isn't the year to consider it, but if you look future, is that a model where you could actually draw more of these private dollars? Because as you say, there's some wealthy people, not even wealthy people care about the area. People care about demographics are changing. People don't have as many kids. They have estates. They might be very interested in seeing it taken care of, but that comes with a cost in terms of maintenance, etc. But
My point was simply that if people have been trained over years to just say, the government will do that, then that individual initiative in a lot of cases gets snuffed out.
Yeah, there may be a lack of trust. If I'm giving it to the county, what else? But the opposite's on the farmland preservation. If you give it to the county farmland preservation, you're not having to pay money for stewardship. And you're also guaranteed that it's going to be there in perpetuity, that the county's going to enforce that. So that's a very compelling aspect.
And then I think you raise a lot of great points that we do need to consider, and we dig through more options for how we approach this. And I think step one was this comprehensive plan that Kirk has been working on, and with everyone involved. And thank you to the GIS team for your role. I knew that, but I apologize. I neglected to acknowledge that up front, that you played a big part of making this happen. So, and Kirk, I would say I want to thank you, because part of the struggle, as was pointed out initially, is that the townships and the municipalities can do as they choose. But when you've engaged with them, they've been such a part of this process. And I know that they look to you and your team for so much guidance and advice. I'm encouraged to think that they're going to embrace this. And as you said, use those tools that you've provided them So, yes, George.
I'd just like to comment on, for somebody in the community that isn't an experienced planner, and they want to have an idea of what's going on, and they don't know what the process is. The visual pieces that are on here, I think, are outstanding. And again, I want to say thank you to the GIS department, and something that isn't talked about here is the planning, the projects that are going on in the county. There's now a way to go look at those and see what's going on. That wouldn't happen without our GS team. So thank you very much for that. But the one thing that I think is very important, back to somebody that doesn't know what's going on with planning and at a municipal level, is not using the county as a crutch. And the crutch that I'm talking about is if there's a challenging development or a piece of property or something that, good, bad, or indifferent, it's in the limelight. I have seen from a municipal level, oftentimes, well, the county says we can do that. And this, without getting to that granular level of the county, puts the municipalities to do more due diligence and thought into what makes the most practical use of that land development or project that's going on, and the component of how does it integrate with the existing properties, developments, et cetera. I think that's key. The other thing is, again, from municipal level, is being able to show how the use of the existing infrastructure is key to development. Because if somebody has a big plan and they want to, but there's no sewer, there's no water, there's no natural gas, that is a big expense that ultimately gets consumed. So, there's often a lot of question about why do we have all these high development uses, or why do so many developments look like more high density? There's reasons for that. And this plan that's being presented and put together, I think, really helps somebody that isn't a planning expert have a little bit more understanding of what the key components are in being able to make a decision that makes sense. So,
Thank you.
Appreciate you bringing the municipal perspective.
I'll tell you what, those free lunches I gave those guys.
Paid off.
But they're not the ones voting on this.
What are you doing tomorrow afternoon here?
Kirk, I hate to make comments and make more work for you, but that's my style. In terms of the community response, is there a way to really take this, or even ask each township to have their planning commission have a meeting about it? To really, I'm on a very small, I chair a very small township planning commission. We hardly meet because we don't have any development in Lower Frankfort Township. But these guys have helped us.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. It's getting close. But the planning department has helped us do a wonderful job of a good comprehensive plan, zoning ordinance, a saldo. That's really world class. It's very good and it's consistent. But maybe trying to get, and we've talked about this a lot, how do you get the township supervisors and how do you get those planning commissions to take ownership of this plan and actually agree to do their part? And I don't have the answer to that, but maybe asking each township to have a special planning commission meeting and inviting the supervisors and having you or your staff come and do your presentation. That's a lot of presentation.
We actually had a meeting last week. We gave municipalities a preview of the plan, so we were on our outreach meetings. We had excellent attendance to that and really good feedback. I think that they appreciated that. I think the future land use map was really a point that they looked at. So we really appreciate this, that it doesn't create a conflict. And I've seen it, and I get it. Like, come in and residents are playing, well, this is what the county says for this parcel. So it's either the county's great or the county doesn't know what they're doing. Either way, it gets to a level where if we're not at that level, we're at this level. So I think by pulling the future land use map back was something that they liked. And then along with the other guidance that's in there, I think will really help a discussion on some of those projects versus just looking at a map. And that's what you need. These land use issues, they're all a discussion. They're so multifaceted issues that impact all of them. It can't just be looking at a map and say, what's the county recommend?
Kirk, does this help you more or less in terms of, I mean, one of the things I would say is, you know, what else do you have other than just suggestions? We offer technical support and we offer incentives, and you know, more incentives than ever. Does this map help increase, or what's the general impact of using this map in terms of you know, applying the incentive toward any type of change that we suggest?
Yeah, I think when we look at this, Gary, it gives us more to hang. I always say with the staff, more to hang our hat on.
Okay.
So it's not just a map that we go through those 8 principles. Say how does a municipal plan, how does a municipal ordinance change stack up against these 8 principles? So when we look at it, what I'm envisioning for the consistency guidelines, is it consistent or not? If it's not so much, no, it's not consistent, you've done a bad job, but what can we do to enhance consistency? So it gets down to compatibility guidelines, different suggestions for buffering and screening between land uses. Because that compatibility, especially in a county like Cumberland, is so important. That really trying to put residential over here, commercial over here, industrial over here, that's an outdated style of planning. So we really need to be looking at mixed land uses, integrating land uses for a variety of reasons that are outlined in the plan. But land use compatibility is the core of that. And I think our consistency guidelines will be focused on the Cumberland principles. And the core focus of those Cumberland principles is really trying to get compatible community guidelines.
Something you said just made me think about just so I would think those land principles, because they are principles, would outlast any of the artificial boundary things. So hypothetically, I believe we're probably in the next decade going to see a few municipalities volunteer for consolidation. So you no longer have to provide the zoning in the manner which it has been presented before. This map, would that need any modification, or does the map facilitate that?
Yeah, so the map could be modified. You know, as we do our outreach process, if municipalities have changes to the boundaries, we can do that. Again, one of the benefits of having it in-house, you know, you guys will do that over the lunch hour. So I mean, it's something it can be done quickly, right? It's not a hard change.
Get with the lunch. Current theme here. Okay,
So Kirk, will you do a roadshow? Is that part of your?
So,
I mean, if it's additive and you know, if it creates good conversation, but certainly you don't want to do it if you're, you know, really
no,
forcing.
I think it's a resource issue for us. You know, we have
Right.
five people, 33 municipalities. The other thing too, we have excellent municipal relationships. As we release some of this stuff, it isn't new to them. They're looking at it. You know, I think in some locations, I know some counties, well, they want a municipality to sign off on a document. Sometimes I think that's a bureaucratic step that's not needed. That when you have a good relationship, your staff are physically present and you're working with them. You don't need a signature because you have trust. And we have that trust with our municipalities. So I'm not sure that a roadshow is needed. As we send this out, we're open and available to meet with any municipality that wants to do it. Again, our staff are physically present. Their staff will be out tonight at meetings where they're talking about the plan. So if there's questions about the plan and municipalities want us to come out, absolutely we're there.
I think what's really great about this plan, I mean, there's a lot of really great things about this plan, but one of them is that it makes us competitive in terms of grants. And by the county being competitive in terms of grant money, it's making our municipalities more competitive in terms of grant money. And I think about Silver Spring talking about that, how important that grant money is to them. And I see this plan really being one of those things that enhances the ability for this region, for this area to obtain grants. I love that water study. As we move west, as everything moves west, that water study is going to be critical. And it's very timely. I mean, we're seeing that right now, how timely that is. And I love all the maps. I'm a map person and constituents love the maps, the property mapper. I love the planning map. I love what this map does. And interactive is fantastic. I really, really like the work that was done on this.
I do. I think some of our staff, I think Steve's online, Steve Hoffman and Elizabeth Grant are both viewing online. So Stephanie may be on too, but you know, we have a small staff, but a professional staff that does a great job. So all of their passions, all their hard work is shown in here too. And most importantly for the implementation, we have a plan that sets the stage, but there's a lot of nights. Every night of the week, there's somebody from our planning office out of the meeting, you know, time away from family, time away from other stuff doing our jobs. So I really appreciate all the hard work that they do for us.
Likewise, we do as well, because you know, evenings with family are a bit sacred and you guys sacrifice a number of those on, to make sure that you are in touch and that the county is aware of what's happening in those townships. So thank you. Any other questions for Kirk at this time? Excellent.
So we need a
Thank
motion.
you. Yes, we do.
I'll make a motion to place the county comprehensive plan draft on the.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Great. Next up, we have,
Thanks for having us.
yes, thank you for attending. We actually have some discussion and a possible motion for the finance office to work with PFM and McNees, Wallace, Nurick on the bond council to prepare for the obligation bond for the P25 radio.
Good afternoon, commissioners. We have Eric Weibel from McNees Wallace and Brad Remick from PFM with us today. So we're here to ask for approval to move forward with phase 2 of the authorization for approvals for phase 2 of the P25 project for public safety, along with McNees Wallace and PFM.
Okay. I know you already had made a presentation to us in regard to the plan. Does anyone have questions of anyone at this time? Would someone like to make a motion? And it looks as though this is written as a motion almost, so you can do it as outlined or however anyone would like to do it.
So I'll move to authorize staff in the finance office to work with PFM Financial Advisors LLC as financial advisor and McNees, Wallace and Nurick LLC as bond counsel to prepare for the issuance of general obligation bonds series of 2024 in the approximate amount of $15 million for the purpose of funding its capital projects.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I will second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much for your patience and attending. We appreciate it. Is there any other business to come before the board at this time? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So
We are adjourned.